This episode is sponsored by Angular Dev Summit, coming September 11th through the 18th, 2017. Hi, it's Chuck from devchat.tv. I reached out to some of my friends in the Angular community to put on a completely free, no-travel conference for Ruby developers. We have speakers like Rob Wormald, Jeff Welpley, and others coming to speak about all kinds of topics in Angular. So if you're trying to learn Angular or you're trying to level up Angular, come check it out. The talks are happening throughout the day each day, and we'll have a chat available during each session. Attending the talks is free, but you need to register. Go to angulardevsummit.com. Hey everybody, and welcome to another My Angular story. This week we're going to be talking to Gil Fink. Gil, do you want to say hi?
Hi everybody, how are you?
Now you're calling from quite a ways away out there in Israel.
Yeah, it's 9:30 in the evening right now. All the kids are asleep, and I'm here with you.
Awesome. Yeah, it's just past noon here in Utah, so it's funny how that works, you know, with you being, what, a third of the way or almost halfway around the world, so.
Yeah. Well, whenever I have a customer in the US, it's the same.
Yep.
Sometimes it's the morning, sometimes it's evening, so we just adjust to any situation.
Yeah, I've had contracts and contractors both in Hong Kong, Philippines, different parts of Europe, and yeah, I've worked with people in India, so I get it.
Yeah.
Now, we got this scheduled for a couple of reasons. One, I think you're going to be on Adventures in Angular a little bit later on, but we also have you speaking at Angular Dev Summit.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about animation. It's the new buzz in the Angular world right now since 4.3, when the Angular team finally pushed the animation model, whole animation model again, rebranded and refactored and everything inside of it. And I'm going to talk about it in the conference. So a lot to expect.
Awesome. Very cool. So do you want to give us a little bit more of an introduction, just who you are, what you do, who you work for, what kinds of things you tend to do for them, that kind of thing?
Cool. So if you don't know me, I'm Gil Fink. I'm the CEO of Sparxys. Sparxys is my own consulting company. We are doing consulting in the front-end field. I'm a Microsoft MVP in the last 9 years. I'm, as you understand, doing front-end work not only with Angular, but mostly with Angular. And I wrote a book called Pro Single-Page Application Development, which explains how to create single-page applications and guidance to how to do that. I'm sorry, but it was written in Backbone back then, 3 or 4 years ago. But I think that the same rules apply today. So if you want, go and download it or grab it from the internet or something like that. Other than that, I'm also one of the co-organizers of Angular App, the conference that was last month in Israel. We had around 700 attendees in the conference, and a lot of international speakers came to speak in the conference, and it was very, very cool. You can find a lot of references, and the recordings are uploaded to the internet in the last few days. So a lot to expect from the sessions. Other than that, I can tell me about myself a lot and a lot, but currently I think that it's time that we go to you, Chuck, and
Awesome.
Things that you want to ask me.
Yeah, well, the point of this is basically to just capture people's stories. I think a lot of people get this idea sometimes that the people that we hear from, either at the conferences or at various events, are somehow, you know, we put them on a pedestal, and we don't realize that they got into code the same way we did, and they got passionate about the same things that we did, and then eventually, you know, they're working on a lot of the same things that we are. And, you know, I just want to make code approachable, and also just help people realize that code is written by real people on the other end too. So let's dive in. How did you get into programming?
Oh, okay. So I think that the first time that I saw and I had a computer was when I was 10 years old. It was 28 years ago. I had a
Wow.
compatible or IBM compatible computer with a four colors CGA screen
Uh-huh.
and MS-DOS as operation system. Back then, we used 1.2 megabytes disks to start a computer. And my computer had a floppy disk with 1.44 megabytes disks. So as a kid, the first thing that you do with your computer is, of course, games. So if you want to go to some retro games that I played back then, it was like Digger and Pac Man and all the games that you can't find today, because today the games are very sophisticated. And I was always fascinated about computing. So I used a lot of command line tools back then as a kid to try to edit the games that I was playing. And this is the first time that I started to do some programming. So in high school, I decided that I want to learn computer science. Since between grades 10 to 12th grade, I learned Turbo Pascal and Excel because it was mandatory in school. Excel. What the hell? It's not a programming language, but okay, computer
Kind of.
science. Kind of. And this was the first time that I wrote some unprofessional programs, some methods, some things that do calculations, and etc., etc. And I was always fascinated with those things. So at the age of 22, I decided that I want to learn computer science in college. So I started my computer science bachelor degree. And since then, I'm here programming like all of the listeners of this show. And I think that the first company that hired me was a company that found me during my third year in college. They approached me and they asked me if I want to work in a small company that worked on a very big and known Israeli web portal. It's the government portal for the Israeli government. So this was the first thing that I did as a web developer. I helped to write the government portal for the Israeli government. So this was, I think, 5 minutes about how I became a programmer.
Yeah, but it's interesting, and there's a lot there to kind of dig into. I mean, one of the things is that I know that some people kind of take the, well, you were exposed to computers or computing as a kid, and so how can I ever compete with that, or how can I ever, get to the level that you're at? But at the same time, a lot of this is approachable enough to where a kid can pick it up. And so I think there are two ways of looking at that, depending on what outlook you have on programming. And, so as a 10-year-old kid, it's like, oh, how does this work? And I start playing with the computer, and, a lot of those fundamentals they're the same.
Yeah, I can cope with that because I was very curious kid. I always try to, destroy some tech that I got and see what's going on inside. But I wasn't good. I wasn't good in that.
Right.
Okay, so I decided not to destroy the hardware, but rather to start to understand how the things that operate the hardware works. And this is what led me to computer science, not anything else. I think that it's the curiosity that led me to start doing those things, not more than that. And if you are curious about something, go and learn it, go and explore it. So this is what I did. When I learned the first bits and bytes about Turbo Pascal in high school, to tell the truth, it started like, oh my God, it's boring. What are those variables and things like that? And after a few lessons, I digged everything that they explained to me, and then it was like, dong, okay, I know, and now I understand why I need to learn those things in order to do something. And this is what I'm doing all the time. I'm trying to explore everything. I'm always telling junior developers that you want to use a framework or even a library, go open the source code and just read it. Some very, very, very talented developers wrote this code, and you can learn from those from that source code how to develop or how good practices look like. And this is what I did, and this is what I'm doing all the time. One of the things that I can recommend is I know that Backbone, for example, is very, very, it's old. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that very interesting about Backbone is you can go and you have the whole source code online, and you have the explanation from the author how and why they did this and that in the source code. So go and look at it. It's not Angular, but it can help you understand how MVC or framework like Angular might work.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's interesting too, because I remember when Backbone was new and I picked it up and I was so excited about it because it solved so many problems as far as just organizing the jQuery mess that I had. And, and then we wound up with things like Ember and Angular and React and where we're at now. But I don't think we would be where we're at now without Backbone. And so just kind of understanding the steps that we took to get to where we are, I think is extremely helpful.
Yeah, it was Backbone and it was Knockout. It's if you come from the Microsoft world, then most of the Microsoft guys or girls went to Knockout. So it was Knockout, Backbone back then, and now it's, as you said, it's Angular, Vue, React, Preact. Whatever. I even saw something called Cell a few weeks ago that was shipped, and it looks interesting. So I will probably dig into it in the next month or two if I'll have time for that. And I think that if you're curious and you love what you're doing, then go open the source code, look at what people are doing, and try to learn from those people.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So how did you get from the land of, working on the government project and things like that into Angular?
Okay, so when I worked on that government project, it was between 2005 and 2007. It was, well back in the past, 10 years ago. First time that I heard about Angular was 4 years ago. I was managing the web department of a company, my last employer, because currently I have my own company. Mm-hmm. And I was involved in a web app project that included jQuery and Backbone, and my VP came to me and he said something like, there is something called Angular. People are talking about Angular. Why did you pick Backbone again? So I said to him, okay, let's take a look at what is this Angular thing that you're talking about. And I went online and I started to read about it. And I said to myself, okay, it's more than a library that I'm using. It's a framework, because Backbone is a library, and it includes everything that I need in order to do some stuff. So how can I learn it better? So I helped my last employer included a college that teach developers how to develop in Israel. So I started to create their AngularJS course, and by that I started to understand how Angular works. And this was probably one of the last projects that I did to that company before I became a freelancer. So they have their AngularJS course. A lot of the modules there are my own. I don't know if it still exists because everybody is moving into Angular 2.4. Right. But I think that a lot of people learned from that course. So I impact some people with the course here in Israel. So I don't have a amazing story about how I became an Angular developer. It was some, progress. Uh, we progressed from jQuery to Backbone and jQuery, and then from Backbone to Angular. And today I'm doing other stuff because it's not AngularJS, it's Angular. And I'm also doing some React and Polymer and even Aurelia. I had a customer 1 month ago that asked me to help them to do performance tuning with Aurelia. So I did that as well. And I saw that Rob is going to be in the Angular Dev Summit as well. So cool. I will definitely go and see what he's going to talk about. This is how I became an Angular developer. Just moved on with everybody else.
Nice. So what was it about Angular that made you decide, you know what, this is the thing that I really want to be doing?
First of all, I think the community. The community is one of the best things about Angular. I have a few friends that we share the same passion. Some of them, I think, you interviewed in the past, like Shai Reznik and Uri Shaked. And if you ask them, and if you ask me, and if you ask any other speaker, Angular speaker, they will say to you, definitely the community. And of course, the approachable of the team. The team is very approachable, and I could talk with them in Angular Connect when I was there last year, and in other conferences as well. So I think that first of all, it's the community, then the people who are creating the framework, the library, and this is the thing about the framework. This is what drives people to go to one framework or another. It's not the company that involved in that framework. This is the decision that enterprises probably do, and not developers. This is what helped me to feel very, very cozy, because you open Stack Overflow or other places that people ask for help, and I think that you see different kind of people in different kind of communities, and in Angular, apparently the modest are the people who are more modest and more happy to help, and that probably helps other developers get into that framework much more faster than in other frameworks. But since I'm doing a lot of Angular, so I had the experience of having some other library issues that I had, that I needed some help, and I didn't get the same vibes as in the Angular community. So this is my 2 cents about what drags me into the Angular world more than other libraries that or frameworks that exist out there.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's funny because, you talk about the community in particular, and I have to say that, that's a lot of what has drawn me in as well. And when I first got into programming, I got into Ruby. And the Ruby was growing and booming and things like that, kind of like Angular has over the last several years. And it really was the community as much as anything else that just kept me around. People were so helpful and just very, very encouraging. And I got to know people, and it makes a huge difference. And it's funny because, we have kind of the framework wars. And some people get really, invested in my solutions, right? And then other people are, this is working for me. It does what I need. And I love where I'm at. I love the community that I'm a part of. And that's what matters to them. But, I stayed in the Ruby community long after Ruby was kind of in its prime. It's not moving as fast and things like that. It's one of those boring, stable technologies now. And it was because of the community. It was the kind of help and the kinds of things that I could do in it, and the kinds of people that I was associating with. And I get that. I still get that a lot in the Angular community as well. And I think a lot of that also comes from the core team and just the top down, the way that they approach stuff. And, they're open. They converse frequently with some of the technologies that people use alongside it, like TypeScript, as well as the technologies that could be considered their competitors, and they treat all of those folks with respect. And anyway, it's just really great to be part of a community where it's not just the technology, but the people matter.
It's more than that. There is a lot of collaboration around Angular. You mentioned TypeScript. I probably was one of the early adopters for TypeScript. I think a few weeks after Anders Hellsberg introduced that language to the world. So when I heard that TypeScript is going to be part of Angular, it was oh, yeah, cool. Because it can help a lot. I'm not going to say that I'm in love with TypeScript, because I have the Stockholm syndrome with JavaScript. Okay, but if you'll give me to write code in vanilla JavaScript, you'll see me very smiling like a small kid. But I also love TypeScript, and it can help a lot. And I think that the collaboration, TypeScript, Angular, and RxJS, and other core libraries that included in Angular, that makes the collaboration, and that takes some people from other front-end areas and drive them into Angular. Webpack, Browserify, whatever. Those tools around the Angular are developing, and once you have collaboration, people start to do some interesting things. The frameworks or the libraries evolve into something better, and people help one each other, and that drives them to some, or hopefully the libraries or the frameworks to some other state, making them more approachable to people from other areas. I think that I'm not doing any C# in the last 3-4 years, but when I was a C# developer 4 years ago, it was when I had to open the console and write JavaScript, I was something like, okay, that language again, JavaScript, yeah. Now I'm not doing that anymore. I'm very, very happy with JavaScript. But back then, 5, 6, even 8 years ago, it was like, oh my God, I need to write it JavaScript code. Please kill me. Not today, but JavaScript evolved, and you have a lot of evolvement in JavaScript, in the frameworks, in the libraries. Who knows what the future is going to be like in 2, 3, 4 years from now in the front end area?
It's so true. Yeah, it's funny because I was in the same situation to a certain degree where it was, I have to write front end. I have to do JavaScript, and it's gotten so much better. Life is so much better.
Yeah, and you mentioned we both of us mentioned the community. So I don't know if you know, but I'm involved in a few little things. I have few open source things that I'm maintaining right now. I created the Angular 2 -indexDB service, which you can find in GitHub. It's a service that wraps IndexDB functionality, expose it in promises way to Angular. And I even wrote some directives in the past that I published, and people are using it. It's amazing. People are using things that I'm writing. One big mistake that I did was 7 or 6 years ago. I wrote a library that called story.js. Okay, I'm part of the JavaScript fatigue. I'm writing libraries. Yeah,
it's your fault.
Yeah, it's my fault. So I wrote a library that wrapped all the storages in the browser and expose the same API. I thought that it's cool, it's funny, and back then when I wrote it, I even wrote my own promises style code that when I look at it today, I'm just horrified. And please don't use that library anymore in the story.js if you're using it in some production. But it's not maintained anymore. But I'm still maintaining the Angular 2 IndexedDB and the ngprint directive for AngularJS. It's a print button that with the print behavior for browser printing, and you can find a lot of contribution that I did, online videos and etc., or even something that I did with Uri Shaked in Angular Connect last year. We did a workshop that combines Ionic and Bluetooth API and Angular, of course. And all of the workshop is online. So you can go and see the source code for some Ionic application that wire we using Bluetooth API into some bulb and change the bulb colors and etc., and play with that. And you have all the workshop details online, so you can go and do the workshop at home if you want. So go.
I might have to check that out.
Yeah,
that sounds like
it's
fun.
cool. Yeah, and it's something very funny about Angular Connect last year. All of the attendees got the color light bulb, the Bluetooth light bulb.
Oh, nice.
And I wrote it in a post. Uri and I are responsible for you getting the bulbs, because that was something that we suggested, that everybody will be able to come to our workshop. So the Angular Connect team thought that it's a good idea to buy 1,000 light bulbs. So everybody who came to Angular Connect last year got a bulb, and if they wanted, they could have created the app and see how the bulb interacts with an Ionic application. And that's cool.
That is cool. So yeah, I usually do ask, what contributions have you made to the community that you're especially proud of? And it sounds like you've done a few workshops and written some libraries. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we talk about what you're working on these days?
I don't think so. Always approachable. So if anybody needs help, you can find me in the internet, and I try to help other people, other developers with mentoring. Lately, since I'm a freelancer in the last 4 years, I was approached by other junior freelancers to get some advice of how to get started. And so I started to create my own a life of a freelancer posts in my blog, and hopefully it will help other junior freelancers to understand what they're going to face and what drove me into becoming a freelancer in a whole. So this is another thing that I'm doing. I'm in Israel. I'm part of 2 startup accelerators as a mentor for startups, and I'm doing that on my own time. So it's not something that I'm hired to do, but rather I'm just doing that. One of them is the Google Launchpad accelerator. So I'm helping Google with the mentoring for startups. And another one is a university accelerator that people from the university come with ideas, and we help them to make those ideas startups. So this is some other contributions that I'm doing right now, other than just writing libraries or delivering workshop sessions, etc., or even writing articles in some magazines, because I'm doing that, but not rapidly or extensively.
Cool. Well, the last section of this show is picks. This episode is sponsored by Hired.com. Are you searching for a new job? That can be stressful, scary, and time-consuming. Pushy recruiters try to sell you on roles you don't actually want, and the job boards make you feel like you're throwing your resume into a black hole, never to be seen again. And sometimes you go all the way through the interview process just to find out at the very end that the salary, offer, or company culture doesn't match what you're looking for. Hired is the world's most intelligent talent matching platform for full-time and contract opportunities in engineering, development, design, product management, data science, sales, and marketing. We make your job search faster, focused, and stress-free. Instead of endlessly applying to companies and hoping for the best, Hired puts you in control of when and how you connect with compelling new opportunities. After completing one simple application, top employers apply to hire you. And on Hired, you receive personal interview requests and upfront salary information so you can make informed decisions about what opportunities to pursue over a condensed timeline. Hired offers access to more than 4,000 innovative employers, including big brand names like Facebook and smaller emerging startups. The size and type of company you want to connect with is totally up to you. And we help you find new opportunities in 17 major cities in North America, Europe, Asia, and Australia. Open to relocation? Let them know. Your privacy and autonomy in your job search is of utmost importance. And if you go check them out at the show's link, that's hired.com/adventures in Angular, you can get double their normal hiring bonus. So instead of $300, you get $600 for signing up at our link. That's hired.com/adventures in Angular.
Okay, so I want to shout out about something that is called Goodness Squad. Goodness Squad is a JavaScript Israel meetup project that we're meeting every month, one day in a month, and we're just helping other open source libraries like Angular CLI and other libraries to evolve. So you have a meetup that wraps 50 developers in teams that in one evening trying to help other libraries and etc. to evolve and to adapt. Lately, we're thinking about trying to add more countries to that initiative. So we started to think about how to make it more approachable to other countries, to create some Goodness Squad meetups other than in Israel in other countries, and we'll be happy that you will join that initiative and do good stuff for other developers like you. The second thing that I want to shout about is Angular to IndexedDB, my library. I don't have a lot of spare time to maintain that library. So if there is somebody who wants to do pull requests, we have a few open issues there. I'll be happy to get some help. If you love that library, just come and help me. And the last thing that I will shout about is I saw a movie last week with my 10 years old kid. It is the Spider-Man Homecoming. It was very cool. I'm a Marvel fan, so everything that includes Marvel things, you'll hear about it from me if you will know me better. I also read DC, so I'm just love comics and everything around comics. So I will shout that that movie is cool. So if you want to go and watch that movie, go ahead and take your kids with you. Don't leave them at home.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to jump in with a few picks myself. One of the things that I've been working on lately is just getting things a little bit more, I guess, systemized and lined up with the business around the podcasts. And one of the things that I've been working on is just, understanding finances and managing the business. And I've been reading the book called The Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. And I read The Millionaire Next Door by T. Harv Eker, but not The Millionaire Mind. And if I had to pick one, I'd go back and read The Millionaire Mind. It's terrific and just talks about specific things that you can do in order to just change your mindset about what your potential is and how you think about money and business. The Millionaire Next Door is also really terrific, and it talks more about kind of the lifestyle that leads to being a millionaire, but it digs some into the mindset, but not like The Millionaire Mind. So I'm going to recommend that book. And then as far as being a freelancer, you talked a bit about that. I am a former co-host and currently help produce the Freelancer Show on devchat.tv. So if you're looking for information and advice on becoming a freelancer, go check that out. One of the hosts on that show is actually from Israel as well, Reuven Lerner. So anyway, if you're interested in that at all, go check that out. And the last pick, and this is just kind of a hurrah for me, I guess, is that I'm a member of Toastmasters International, and my club held a speech contest, and I advanced in the Tall Tales category. So I'm going to be speaking at the area contest in a couple weeks. So I'm pretty excited about that. If you're looking for opportunities to learn how to communicate and speak better, and if you're looking to become a freelancer, communication is pretty critical, then definitely check out Toastmasters. The first 10 projects you wind up doing talk about just different aspects of speaking, and these come down to not just public speaking, but as well about areas of speaking that you're going to do with your clients and customers and things like that. So recommend that as well. And so you can check them out at toastmasters.org. And if you're in the Utah area, then find Lone Peak Toastmasters. We meet on Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. And it's in Draper, Utah. So anyway, if you're interested in that, check that out. You should be able to find us and figure out where we meet. But there are Toastmasters clubs all over the place. And so, yeah, definitely interesting there. And then I also finally want to just tell people again to come and see what Gil is going to show us at Angular Dev Summit. And that's at angulardevsummit.com. If you're worried about costs, there's no travel. It's all online. So those costs don't exist. And if you want to come and watch the talks live, there's also no cost for that. I do have all access passes that get you access to the videos after the fact and things like that. But for where we're at right now, no cost if you want to just come and watch them live. So anyway, if people want to follow you, Gil, on Twitter or GitHub, or just see what you're working on these days, where do they go?
Okay, so Twitter, it's Gil Fink, GILFINK. You can find me there. You can find me at gilfink.net. It's my website. Or you can go to Medium, and I'm Gil Fink there, and read the posts that I'm doing in my blog. So the first place is probably Twitter, but you can go to gilfink.net as well and find every information about me. There, you can find my email there. You can find even my phone, but please remember that the timelines, time differences, so don't call me at 4 in the morning or things like that.
So one other thing, you said that you run a consultancy, and I like people to be able to talk about what they do. So if people are thinking, you know what, Gil sounds like a terrific guy to work with, sounds like he knows his stuff about Angular, we're looking for some consultants to help us with a particular problem, what kinds of problems will you solve for them, and how do they find you?
Okay, so first of all, my business is called Sparxys, and I have the Sparxys.com website. I'm mainly doing front-end development. I'm currently fully booked for the next 3-4 months, so I won't be able to help a lot. But if you need any help, you can approach me, and I might have some slots that will be available. I'm doing mainly front-end development and profiling and performance tuning in front-end. I'm not only dedicated to Angular, but rather I have experience with other libraries like React and AngularJS, of course, and Backbone and Knockout. And I think that I have broad understanding of architecture and front-end architecture. So this is another thing that I'm doing for my customers. Currently, I didn't say that, but I'm leading some very big application building. It's an IDE for a very major company enterprise in Israel, and they have their own automation IDE, and it's two teams that are working currently, and I'm leading all the architecture and all the aspects of code quality and other stuff related to technologies and everything else. So I'm doing that as well. As I said, feel free to approach me if you need anything from me, if it's in Angular, if it's anything else, if you want to talk with me about, as Chuck said, freelancing, I'm happy to help. Just send me an email or just tweet me in Twitter or whatever, and I'll try to answer you as soon as possible.
Awesome. And Sparxys, how do you spell that?
Sparxys, it's Sparxys.
All right. I knew it was spelled different from what I think most people would type in. So there you go.
Yeah, I know. It's not a usual. Fink is Spark. And so I didn't want something like Fink Systems or something like that, even Spark Systems or whatever. So it became Sparxys. That's how it came to life. that
Awesome.
Name of the company.
All right. Well,
Cool.
it was cool to get your story. Hopefully it inspires some folks to go out there and try new things. We'll go ahead and wrap this one up, and we will catch everyone next week with another story.
Thank you for hosting me, and it was cool talking with you. And if you're the developer out there, just do good stuff, people.
Yep.
Believe in yourself, and you'll go farther and farther in your developer life.
Yep, absolutely. All right.
Cool.
Bandwidth for this segment is provided by CacheFly, the world's fastest CDN. Deliver your content fast with CacheFly. Visit CACHEFLY.com to learn more.